Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah, always fun to dive into a new topic.
And today we're really looking at something that I think a lot of listeners struggle with, and something that I know I personally struggle with.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the idea of just not reacting. You
Hmm.
know, there are so many times in my life where I've said things or done things in the heat of the moment that I later regret.
I've been there.
And I always think to myself afterward, like, oh, I wish I had just taken a moment, to just breathe.
Yeah, just like chill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're diving into this book called The Power of Not Reacting, How to Control Your Emotions by Justice O. Malcolm.
Catchy title.
Yeah, and it really just gets into this idea of becoming more emotionally intelligent.
So not just knowing what you're feeling, but like actually being able to control those feelings.
Exactly, and not letting them control us.
Yeah.
So the book starts off by talking about these things called emotional triggers.
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever heard of those?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have. I guess I haven't really thought about it that way before.
Yeah, so it's basically those things that just like set us off.
Push your button.
Exactly, and they can be different for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes they're connected to like past experiences.
That makes
Like
sense.
the book gave this example of someone who had been bullied in school. And so years later, even just a little offhand comment from a colleague could like totally send them into a spiral
Oh, wow. Yeah.
because it's like triggering that past trauma.
Right. It's not really about like what's happening right now. It's like it's bringing up all this old stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the book is really careful to say like, this isn't about blaming other people for our reactions.
Yeah.
It's about self-awareness,
Yeah.
like recognizing, okay, this is a trigger for me and this is why.
Right. So you can like understand yourself better.
Exactly. And then you can start to do something about it.
Okay. So how do we like actually do that though? Like we figure out what our triggers are, but then what?
Well, the book talks about this idea of a mental pause button.
A pause button.
Yeah, like imagine like when you're feeling that rush of emotion like anger or frustration, like a big stop sign pops up in your mind.
Yeah, I like that visual.
Yeah.
That's good.
So it's about consciously choosing to stop before reacting automatically.
That's easier said than done though, isn't it?
It is. It definitely takes practice, but the book gives us some really helpful tools.
Oh, like what?
Well, one of the things it talks about is breathing techniques.
Breathing. Like just breathing.
Yeah. It might sound simple, but our breath is actually like incredibly powerful.
Mm.
Like by consciously changing our breathing, we can actually influence our nervous system.
Really?
Yeah. And it can help to calm that fight or flight response that happens when we're stressed.
So you're like hacking your own system.
Exactly. And the book actually recommends this specific technique called 478 breathing.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Have you?
Yeah, I've never actually tried it though.
So you inhale for 4 seconds,
Okay.
you hold for 7, and then you exhale for 8.
Okay, I can try that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try it out too next time I feel myself getting worked up.
Yeah, it's like a little tool you can have in your back pocket.
Exactly. And, the power of not reacting,
Hmm.
it goes beyond just managing those big emotional outbursts.
Okay.
It actually encourages us to practice mindfulness, like throughout our day.
Mindfulness. Oh, yeah, I've heard a lot about that.
But we're not talking about like going on a meditation retreat or anything like that.
No, no, not that intense.
Yeah, it's about bringing mindfulness into our like everyday activities.
Give me an example.
So like savoring each bite of your food,
Okay.
really listening during conversations,
Mhm.
even like paying attention to the sensations as you're washing the dishes.
So just like being present in the moment no matter what you're doing.
Exactly. And, I've actually read that mindful eating can improve digestion
Oh, really?
and it can even prevent overeating.
That's interesting.
So it's not just good for your mental health, it can actually have physical benefits too.
Yeah. Huh. So it's like a win-win.
Exactly. All
Yeah.
right. So we've talked about identifying our triggers,
Yeah.
hitting that mental pause button, and bringing mindfulness into our daily routines.
Right.
But what about like actually dealing with the emotions themselves? What does the book say about that?
Okay, good question. Yeah, the book really emphasizes the importance of not just identifying our emotions, but also accepting them.
Accepting them, even the like bad ones,
Even the uncomfortable ones like anger, sadness, fear, all of it.
because I feel like we're often told to like push those feelings down.
Right, like just ignore them and they'll go away.
But I think that usually just makes things worse in the long run.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater.
Exactly. It's going to pop up eventually.
And it's important to say that accepting your emotions doesn't mean you have to act on them.
Okay.
It just means acknowledging that they're there, like they're part of your experience.
Right. The book actually gives this interesting example of just saying, I feel angry out loud.
Really. Just saying it. Yeah, apparently that act of labeling the emotion can create some distance. Like you become an observer of your anger rather than getting swept away by it.
So you're not like consumed by it
Exactly. And that little bit of distance can give you the space to choose how you want to respond.
instead of just like exploding.
Right. It's about gaining clarity and control.
I like that. And that leads us to another really interesting idea from the power of not reacting.
Hmm.
And that is reframing negative thoughts.
Reframing.
Okay, so can you give me an example of what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. Let's say you're stuck in traffic.
Oh, the worst.
Right. Instead of getting all worked up and thinking this always happens to me, you could reframe it as, well, now I have some extra time to listen to my favorite podcast.
Okay, so you're not pretending that you're not annoyed,
No,
but you're choosing to focus on a more positive aspect of this situation.
exactly.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that our thoughts have a powerful influence on our emotions. And by consciously choosing a more positive or neutral interpretation, we can actually shift how we feel.
That's pretty cool.
It is powerful stuff.
So we're starting to see how these different ideas from the power of not reacting all connect together.
Yeah, it's all starting to come together.
But we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, there's more.
There's so much more to explore, especially when it comes to our relationships with other people.
Okay, well, let's get into that then.
We'll dive into that in our next deep dive.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so we're back, and we're diving deeper into the power of not reacting,
Yeah, and last time we were talking a lot about managing our own emotions
right? Like how to identify our triggers.
with that pause button,
Yeah, practice mindfulness.
all that good stuff.
But this book, it doesn't stop there.
Oh, no.
No, it actually goes a step further and talks about how all of this ties into our relationships with other people.
That makes sense. I mean, our reactions, they don't just affect us, they affect the people around us, too.
Exactly. And, one of the key ideas the book brings up in this context is empathy.
Empathy. Yeah, that's huge.
And it sounds simple, right? Like just understanding what someone else is feeling.
Yeah, but I think a lot of us struggle with it.
I know I do.
Yeah, me too. It's
Yeah.
like we get so caught up in our own heads.
And our own emotions.
Exactly. And the book really highlights the importance of active listening.
Active listening. What's that?
It's not just like waiting for your turn to speak.
Oh.
It's about like really truly trying to understand the other person's perspective, like putting yourself in their shoes.
Okay, I think I get it.
So you're not just hearing the words, but you're also paying attention to like their tone of voice.
Their body language.
Yeah, all of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And when we make that effort to really listen to step outside of ourselves, it can totally transform our relationships.
Oh, wow. So it's like empathy is the key to better communication.
I think so. And, empathy can also lead to compassion. The book describes it as not just understanding someone's pain, but actually wanting to help alleviate it.
Oh, so it's like taking action.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond sympathy and actually doing something to support the other person.
Okay, I can see how that would be really powerful.
It is. And, this brings us back to one of the core ideas in the power of not reacting, and that is taking responsibility.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that before.
Right. But this time, it's not just about taking responsibility for our own emotions.
Okay.
It's also about taking responsibility for how our actions impact others.
Right, because sometimes our reactions, even if they're understandable, can hurt other people.
Exactly. And the book argues that if we've caused harm, even unintentionally making amends, is a crucial part of this process.
So it's like owning up to our mistakes.
Yeah, and taking steps to repair any damage we may have caused.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's also about accepting the consequences of our choices, even when they're uncomfortable.
So it's not always easy.
It's not, but it's important.
Yeah, and it sounds like this whole idea of the power of not reacting. It's not
Yeah.
just about reacting less.
It's about becoming better people.
Yeah, like more thoughtful, more compassionate.
Exactly. And the book says a big part of that growth is learning to let go of ego and pride.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is, but it's so important. The book really called me out on this.
Me too.
Like, do you get defensive easily?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Do you always have to have the last word?
Guilty as charged.
Well, guess what? That might be your ego talking.
Really?
It's so easy to get caught up in being right all the time.
I know.
But the book argues that a healthier approach is to try and detach from that need to constantly defend ourselves.
So like choosing our battles.
Yeah, and recognizing that there are multiple valid viewpoints.
Okay, and the book emphasizes that a key ingredient in letting go of ego is cultivating gratitude. Gratitude. Yeah, we touched on that a bit before.
Right, but it's worth emphasizing again because it's so powerful.
Yeah, when we're focused on what we're grateful for, It's harder to get caught up in those petty ego battles.
Exactly, and gratitude can shift our whole perspective.
How so?
Well, instead of focusing on what's wrong or what we lack, we start noticing the good things in our lives.
So it's like a mindset shift.
Exactly. And I'm incredibly grateful for this conversation.
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
learning so much.
Me too. And, we're just getting started with this exploration of the power of not reacting.
Oh, there's more.
There's still so much more to uncover.
I'm intrigued.
So stay tuned.
Ah.
All right, so we are back for the final part of our deep dive into the power of not reacting.
Wow, it's gone by fast.
It has, and we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have, yeah, from understanding those emotional triggers to
Yeah.
practicing mindfulness, reframing our thoughts, and even cultivating empathy and compassion.
Yeah, like it's really all about taking a step back and choosing how we want to respond to life's challenges instead of just reacting impulsively.
And it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about progress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm kind of curious, like, where do we go from here?
Yeah, good question.
Like, how do we actually integrate all of these ideas into our daily lives?
Well, the book acknowledges that this isn't a one-time fix.
Right.
It's an ongoing process.
It's a journey.
Exactly.
And one of the most important parts of this journey, according to the book, is learning to forgive.
Forgive.
Yeah, forgive, as in forgiving others.
Yes, but also forgiving ourselves.
Oh, right.
Because holding on to grudges, whether it's against others or ourselves, it can really weigh us down.
Oh, yeah.
It's like carrying around all this baggage.
Yeah, totally. And the book says that letting go of that baggage through forgiveness can free up so much energy and mental space.
Wow. So it's like forgiveness is actually a form of self-care.
I think so.
Okay. And I'm starting to see how all of these pieces fit together. Mindfulness, gratitude, forgiveness.
Yeah, it's all interconnected.
It's all part of this bigger picture of emotional intelligence. Absolutely. And the book emphasizes that another key element is building emotional resilience.
Resilience. Okay, what's that?
It's that ability to bounce back from setbacks and challenges.
Oh, okay. So like when something bad happens, you don't just fall apart.
Exactly. You're able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going.
It's like having an inner strength that helps you weather the storms.
Precisely. And, life is full of ups and downs, and it's not about avoiding those challenges.
Right.
It's about learning to navigate them effectively.
Okay, and the book talks about the importance of self-care as a way to build resilience.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Like things like exercise, getting enough sleep, and eating healthy foods.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, it can all contribute to our emotional well-being.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It is mind, body, and spirit.
And something that really resonated with me from The Power of Not Reacting is the book's emphasis on developing patience and tolerance.
Patience, oh gosh, that is something I could definitely work on.
Me too. It's tough, but it's essential for emotional mastery.
Yeah, but how do we actually cultivate more patience in a world that's so fast-paced and demanding?
Well, it's a practice like anything else.
Right.
And mindfulness can be a really helpful tool here.
Okay.
By learning to be present in the moment, we can start to let go of that need to control everything.
Yeah, and just accept that things unfold in their own time.
Exactly. And, this leads us to another important concept from the book, and that is self-compassion.
Self-compassion, okay, hold on. Isn't that just being selfish?
No, not at all. It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend who is going through a difficult time.
Oh, okay, so like cutting ourselves some slack.
Exactly, because we're all human and we all make mistakes.
Right, and the book argues that this self-acceptance is crucial for emotional growth and well-being. Okay, so it's not just about controlling our anger or suppressing our emotions. It's about developing a whole new way of being in the world.
That's a great way to put it. And, as we come to the end of our deep dive into the power of not reacting, I'm left with this thought.
What's that?
What if the most powerful response isn't a reaction at all, but a mindful choice?
Oh, I love that.
It's about becoming more aware of our emotions and then choosing how we want to respond to them.
Yeah, and I think that's something we can all strive for.
Absolutely.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the power of not reacting.
I hope you enjoyed it.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I hope you've gained some valuable insights along the way.
Me too.
And if you're interested in learning more and applying these ideas to your own life, I highly recommend checking out the book.
It's full of practical tips and exercises.
Yeah, so until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and keep exploring the fascinating world within and around you.
See ya!